Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We are from Group 2 and we will present the results of our group's work, namely language choice. The name of the member of Group 2 is Nur Adharyana Sarmin, Firdayanti, Kamila Febri Darida, Nur Laila Arianto, Nur Aulia As-Saliha, Suryatni Irna Mahnasari, Tiara Adisti Priyandini. Alright, for streamline time, for the first speaker,
Well, on this occasion, I will explain about what is language choice in sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistic language is an essential part of any society, and in many countries, speaking different language is common. Sociolinguistics look at how language is affected by society, the cultural norms, gender, occupation, social status. Next point. Language choice is usually born due to the use of language in a bilingual or multilingual society. Through the selection of one language over another or one of variety of the same language over another speakers display what may be called acts of identify. The aim of this chapter is to examine the motivation for such choice in different societies. In this material, there are several points that will be explained by the next speaker. Thank you.
So, in this material, I will explain about societal multilingualism. The first step in understanding what choices are available to speakers is to gain some idea of what language and varieties are available to them in a particular social context. Knowledge about the distribution of varieties in society has been obtained in a number of ways which reflect different perspectives. Research on using statistics. In case of the jure bilingualism, knowledge about the demographic concentration of particular ethnic minorities is necessary for the implementation of language legislation. In Canada, for instance, it is required in order that so-called bilingual districts are provided with service of the federal government in both French and English, which they are entitled to by law. Some Macedonian-speaking Muslim, for instance, who have been manipulated by both Albanian and Turkish politicians into believing that they are Slavicist Albanians or Turks rather than Islamicist Slavs, will declare their nationality as Albanian or Turkish on the basis of religious affiliation. As the Socialist Republic of Yugoslavia was collapsing, the 1991 census was conducted although it was boycotted or by ethnic Albanians whose leaders insist they would be purposely undergone. Consequently, the Macedonian authorities determined the number of Albanians by statistical estimation. Thank you. I think that's all from me.
My name is Tiara Distipriantini. I'm the third speaker, and I will explain social multilingualism part 2. The language has its own script and literary tradition, but because it has borrowed much of its vocabulary from Hindi, it is considered a dialect of that language. The second point is the real figure for the first speakers of Irish as a proportion of the total population was estimated to be around 2% on the basis of the 1971 census data. The others are second language speakers. The last point of mine is outside native Irish speaking districts, fluent Irish is a fairly reliable indicator of middle class status, while the working class remain ignorant of the language. That's all from me. The next material will be explained by the next speaker.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurlaila Aryan. I'm the fourth speaker, so I'm going to presenting the next material. It's domains. Okay, first of all, let me tell you the most important part of this material. What is domain? So a domain is an abstraction which refers to a sphere of activity representing a combination of specific times, settings, and role relationships. They conducted further studies to support their claim that each of these domains carried different expectations for using Spanish or English. So a domain is an area of human activity in which one particular speech, variety, or a combination of several varieties is regularly used. A domain can be considered as a group that related to social situations. So in research of the Puerto Rico community in New York City, a team of social linguistics arrived at a list of five domains in which either Spanish or English was used consistently. So these were established on the basis of observation and interviews and comprised like family, friendship, religion, employment, and education. These domains served as anchor points for distinct value systems embodied in the use of Spanish as opposed to English. So next slide. The hypothetical conversations that differed in the terms of locutors, place, and topic. So the way in which these variables were manipulated determined the extent to which the domain configuration was likely to be congruent or incongruent. For example, a highly congruent configuration would be a conversation with a priest in church how to be a good Christian. People were asked to imagine themselves in hypothetical situations where two of the three components of the conversational context were given. So, in each domain, three may be pressures of kinds like administrative, cultural, political, religious, which influence the bilingual towards use of one language rather than the other. So, I think that is all from me. That's what I can explain about domains. I hope it could be understandable and useful as well. Thank you. The next material will be presenting by the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Nur Aulia Asa, and I am a foreigner. And this time, I will explain about diglossia. So, often a language or variety in a multilingual community serves a specialized function and is used for particular purposes. This situation is known as diglossia. An example can be taken from Arabic-speaking countries such as Egypt, in which the language is used at home may be a local version of Arabic. Diglossic societies are marked not only by this compartmentalization of varieties, but also by restriction of access. The relationship between individual bilingualism and societal diglossia is not a necessary or causal one. Either one can occur without the other one. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Suryatni Irna Mahnasari as the sixth speaker. So the material that I'm going to explain is language shift. First of all, we have to know what is language shift and death. Language shift denotes the replacement of one language by another as the primary means of communication and socialization within the community. And language death is when the community is the last one in the world to use the language. What causes language shift and death? What causes language shift? The reasons are often economic, social, and political. And then there are also factors to language shift, such demographic factors, attitudes, and values. And what causes language death? Probably the most common cause of language death is when a community that previously only spoke one language starts to speak another one. Events led to language shift and death were also found in immigration like some of these events. Next slide, please. In other, in other places, immigrant languages have disappeared as their speakers have adopted the language of the new environment. In such instances, language shift may be unavoidable. Where large groups of immigrants concentrate in particular geographical areas, they are often better able to preserve their languages. Example in Papua New Guinea, where Tok Pisin is the language most used in the towns, many children grow up not speaking their parents' vernacular languages. So that's all from me. The next material will be explained to next speaker.
Okay, my name is Nur Adhariana Sarmin. I will explain about code switching. Let us consider as examples the utterances in 1 to 7, which have come from a variety of bilingual or multilingual speakers. Although speakers in the Diglossia situation must know more than one code, only one code is usually employed at any one time. As you can see, some examples on the PowerPoints that have been shown from 1 to 7. So that all of these utterances draw to different extents on items which come from more than one language and which are combined in different ways. These kinds of utterances are normal everyday instances of language used for the individuals concerned. Indeed, I have deliberately drawn my examples from many versions of language in order to show that they probably occur to some degree in the real life of most bilingual persons and in most bilingual communities. I have also intentionally included some examples from young children to draw attention to the fact that learning to speak more than one language often involves putting together material from two languages. This is a part of the process of growing up bilingually and acquiring competence in more than one language. The length of children's utterances, or whether bilingual or monolingual, is severely constrained by the first stage of language acquisition and the relationship between the child and the adults. Language is indirect. It is often difficult to say what the appropriate expansion is in any given case. All we can say is that the child's lexicon is drawn from more than one language. While the grammar is still in the early developmental stages, it follows the rules of neither monolingual Spanish nor English grammar. Thus, it will be misleading to describe it as a deviation from the norm. So, well, that's all the results of our group. More and less, please forgive us. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.